This is my reference material. So this is the Penguin Classics, Saga of Hrolf Kraki. I would love to get an older version, a more scholarly version, but there's nothing wrong with this. They're easily accessible and they give you pretty much the broad strokes of what's going on in things. So let's just get on with this, shall we? Oh, let's bring this one up so we can all see what we're looking at. So the uncensored Beowulf. That's right, yeah. The uncensored Beowulf, Bearman, Incest, and the Real North. If you were paying attention in school, you'd likely remember Beowulf as a rather stern, gloomy affair. It is the foundational slab of English literature, a tale of a Yetish hero, coming to the aid of King Hrothgar, ripping the arm off a monster and eventually dying after a scrap with a dragon. It is noble, it is Christianized, and let's be honest, it's incredibly polite about the Danish royal family. The Saga of King Hrolf Kraki is not, by any stretch of the imagination, but if you strip away the Anglo-Saxon poet's pious veneer and look at the frozen rocks of Iceland, you will find that the same story told in a very differently. You find the Saga of King Hrolf Kraki. I say there you'll find the same story. It's not really. Should we say that there are characters in both? Anyway, written in the 14th century Iceland, but preserving oral tradition that centuries older. The saga is essentially a director's cut of the migration period, is the HBO version of BBC's Sunday drama, or Beowulf's BBC Sunday drama. If you've ever seen the ITV Beowulf TV show, that's terrible. Where Beowulf gives us stoic speeches and vague allusions to family strife, Hrolf Kraki gives us incest, shape-shifting bears, and a level of dynastic butchery that makes Game of Thrones look like a parish council meeting. It is the bloody, rambustuous, and profoundly human mess. Rambustuous. And it tells us far more about the pagan Germanic soul than the sanitized epic we have forced schoolchildren to read. The rot at the Heart of Heorot. The central argument for reading Hrolf Kraki is that it explores the rots that the Beowulf tries to hide. In the English epic, Hrothgar, in the saga, is a wise, weary old king sitting in his hall. Heorot, Herodegard, in the saga. We are told in hushed tones that his nephew, Hrolf Kraki, will eventually betray the family. And this comes up again in Widsith. Do I have that page? For
a very long time did Hrolf and Hrothgar keep the peace together, uncle and nephew, after they had driven away the race of the Vikings and humbled the array of Ingeld, hewed down at Heorot, host of the Hathelbards.
So if you've ever come across Widsith, I've talked about this in previous videos before, but in Widsith, it's basically some dude going around Europe meeting kings and their courts and all that kind of stuff, and he mentions that Hrothgar and Hrolf are still allies. That's what he says in Widsith. So another English poem. They all talk about the same thing. I mean, are they getting all this information from a single narrative, if there's a single story, or do they get all this stuff from just oral tradition? Is it all about the same person? Who knows? The saga doesn't whisper, it screams. It lays bare the chaotic genealogy of the Skjoldung dynasty. We aren't just dwelling in the monsters in the mead hall. We are dealing with a family tree that is twisted into a knot. Take Hrolf's father, Helgi. In Beowulf, he is a footnote, Helga. I have, and I will make use of this.
Hrolf Kraki, Rollo. Hrothgar, Ro.
Chambers book. if you can find it and you're into this whole Beowulf thing, it's awesome. It's an awesome book, especially if you're you want to study Beowulf, because that's just the kind of book it is. In the saga, he is a walking disaster of unchecked libido after being humiliated by the warrior queen Olaf of Saxland. Who shaves his head and tars him, a magnificent insult. He returns to kidnap and rape her. Years later, he meets a shepherdess named Yrsa, falls in love, marries her. It is only later the Queen Olaf reveals her trump card. Yrsa is Helga's daughter. And this was 14th century, so that would have been 600 years before Old Boy. Oh. The horror of the revelation breaks the family. Yrsa flees to marry the treacherous King Aedelus of Sweden. He'll come up later on. He also comes up in Beowulf. Again, the genealogies, family trees, alternative names of... So this will have the names of these guys in Old Norse, Old English, and Latin, because that's how we gather all these stories up mostly, especially around these parts. Get this book if you can find it. The horror relation breaks the family. Years of the treacherous King Aedelus of Sweden. Helga wanders into the arms of an elfin woman, siring the necromancer Skjold, who will eventually destroy them all. I think we get more of what happens to Skjold in the next video about the next person we're about to talk about. This is a primal soup from which Hrolf Kraki is born. He is not just a king, he is the product of incestuous tragedy, ruling over the court, teetering on the edge of doom. So this guy, the bear and the Beowulf. There is a matter of the hero. In the English epic, we have Beowulf. His name is a kenning, the Beowulf, or the bear, the animal that hunts honey. Hunts honey? He fights with the strength of 30 men and uses wrestling grips to destroy his enemies. In the saga, the metaphor becomes literal. Oh. Hrolf's champion is Bother-Bjarki, the little bear. Actually, Bother-Bjarki means warlike or warrior, little bear. And this is the dude we're going to talk about in the next video, because the next video is literally all about him, so more information on him in the next video. Bother is the son of a man. Bother, is the son of a man cursed to live as a cave bear, and he carries the beast within him. The saga's climactic battle, Bother does not fight with a sword. More on that sword as well, because that's another one of those magical swords. He sits in a trance in the high seat, motionless, while a massive bear rampages through the enemy line, swatting men and horses aside like flies. It's a stunning image of shamanistic warfare. That word. Give me a sec. Theology. So I'm going to look and do a nice little close-up of what that means in here, because again, it's something that comes up in the next video. It's like... what's it actually say? The soul of people, but separate from their bodies. Skinwalkers. What was Bran in Skinwalker? Is that what they were called in Game of Thrones? They could become not necessarily become an animal, but they could take over the body of an animal. In this, I don't know whether it's the same thing, because the bear vanishes. Anyway, or fetch. There's a stunning image of shamanistic warfare, or theology, or fetch. I'll get onto that. It's more relevant in the next video, so we'll do it in the next video. That predates the chivalristic combat of later romance. It reminds us that these men are not knights in shining armor, they are berserkers, tapping into something feral. The god of victory. What strikes a modern reader most, however, is the saga's treatment of fate and the divine. Hrolf Kraki is a noble heathen. He does not worship the old gods, trusting instead in his own might and main. His hubris leads to Saga's most haunting sequence. on their way to comfort the Swedish king Aedelus. On their way to confront the Swedish king Aedelus, or Aethelus. A miserly bastard who tries to burn them alive in his hall. Hrolf and his champions are tested by a one-eyed farmer named Hrunti. Hrunti subjects them to a freezing cold, thirst, and fire. On their return, Hrunti offers Hrolf weapons, a shield, a sword, and a mail. Hrolf, offended by the farmer's scruffy appearance, haughtily refuses. It is only miles down the road that Bertha Bjarki realizes the truth. That was Odin the Old, and we have just rejected the victory. Here's a chilling moment. In the Christian worldview of Beowulf, victory comes from the Lord Almighty. In the Saga, victory is a gift from a fickle, one-eyed wanderer. And Hrolf throws it away out of pride. The long defeat. Isn't this what Tolkien called the Lord of the Rings? The long defeat. The saga ends not with the dragon, but with a sister, Skjold. She's back again. Skjold's half-sister, born of elven magic, raises an army of the dead against him. It is a hopeless fight. The dead do not stay dead. They rise and fight again. We've seen this in Game of Thrones. You know, it's not a matter of just destroying the brain. These are old school zombies, not, Romero zombies. Hrolf and the champions die, all of them. There is no last minute reprieve, no eagles or dragons. I spelled dragons wrong. I'm going to correct that because it's doing my head in. No eagles or dragons flying in. They drink their ale, they make their boats, and they go out to be slaughtered. And yet there is a strange comfort in the bleakness. The Saga of Hrolf Kraki captures the essence of the northern heroic ethos, the long defeat. You do not fight because you will win, you fight because the only thing that serves the wreck of the world is your reputation. The love or fame that comes from dying well. LOF, love, essentially. So by all means keep Beowulf on the shelf, respect it for its poetry and its gravity. But when you want to understand the blood, the magic, and the messy humanity of the North, reach for the sagas. Yes. Again, the version of Beowulf that I would highly recommend is the one by Tom Shippey. I think it's a fantastic... This one is falling to pieces. I've used it so much. Tom Shippey. And, of course, this is the only version of the story of Hrolf Kraki that I can come across. I don't think... We've seen this book before. I don't think it's in here. Let me just do a quick look. That would be a no. Yeah, that would be a no. Yeah, so this is the only version of the Saga of Hrolf Kraki that I've got. I'd love to get a much older, scholarly version of it, because I just love that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna stop it here. Like I said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.